Hello, movie lovers, and welcome to Shelved. This is episode 3. I am your host, Jeremy Meyer, and we have a great episode for you today. I sat down with my friend Maggie, and she's my resident Star Wars fanatic, just like me, and we talked about Star Wars. Now, but this is not the Star Wars you know. This is the original rough draft written by George Lucas that eventually became not just A New Hope, but all 3 movies in the original trilogy. This script was so big, it couldn't be cut down into one movie, so they literally turned it into a trilogy. And it's real weird. I think every Star Wars fan has heard parts of this story, but they may not know the whole story, and you may not know just how different it is. And different is the key word here. So, I think it's going to be a great episode. We had a lot of great conversation going on. It's nice to be 3 episodes in and still feeling like I'm doing the right thing. This is a fun show. I know I said that on the last episode, but it's reassuring, and I hope everybody is enjoying it. I know I'm banking all these episodes before the show launches, but I can't wait to hear everyone's feedback, especially on this episode, and more great ones to come. I got the next few set up already, and it's looking like it's going to be a really good slate of first few podcasts. So this episode goes a little long. It's the longest one so far, so I'm not going to do a super long intro here, but I just wanted to kind of set up the show a little bit and just let you know you can still hit us up on them social medias, send us an email to let us know what we're doing good, what you don't like. I'm trying to add a little energy into these intros here, trying to show a little more of my personality. So sorry if I'm being a little obnoxious, but anyway, so we're going to get into it. So this is the Star Wars with me and my friend Maggie, so I hope you guys enjoy the listen. But all right, I don't really know where to start with this one because it's
everywhere.
This is the weirdest thing I've ever read.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And we've been kind of talking about it over the week as we've been reading it because it's very dense and it's nice to kind of just check in every now and then. At first, I wasn't taking notes, and then I realized I had to go back and start
this
over.
This one you have to take notes.
Yeah. But yeah, I think this is one that every Star Wars fan has heard the story. Everybody.
I knew the bullet points of it of hey, Han Solo's a lizard. Someone's got the name Star Killer, that kind of stuff.
I didn't even know about the Han Solo thing.
Yeah.
I knew about this was the script that became the 3 movies. I knew that Anakin and Luke were kind of different characters. Mm-hmm. I thought Obi-Wan was still in it, so for a while I was kind of waiting for him to appear. And then I realized, Luke is actually Obi-Wan for a long time.
Yeah. It's funny because I feel like almost every name in the 6 movies is in this, except for Obi-Wan.
Yeah.
It's the one name that he came up with after writing this script.
Owen Lars is in here.
Yeah.
At the very end, there's every character.
Yeah. I didn't think that, I didn't know Obi-Wan was in it, but I was definitely kind of waiting for it just because every other name was in there.
Yeah, even names of planets, Utapau is the first planet that we get introduced to in the script, and that's a planet that gets reused in episode 3.
Yeah.
So
reused a lot.
Yeah, it's really hard to know where to start with this one because you see all of Star Wars in this one script. It's definitely you have all of the major events of the 3 movies. If you take them down, you have the trash. Think of what are the big events of the first movie. You got the trash compactor scene.
Yeah, Death Star.
The Death Star.
Yeah.
The TIE fighter sequence when they're escaping and they shoot down the TIE fighters. It's all in here.
Yeah.
But it's all over the place. Because there are 2 attacks on the Death Star, and they just don't blow it up the first time.
They just kind of fly around.
Yeah, they fly around it, and they shoot it down, and then all the ships get blown up, and that's kind of it. And I don't know if you caught on, there's a character named Chewie in that battle. And
and then there's also Chewbacca.
Yeah. And then I'm pretty sure that the Millennium Falcon is called the Star Killer, and there's also the character of Star Killer. I might have been confused when I was reading that.
There was a couple things. So the opening crawl.
Yeah.
The original one uses so many terms, and a thing that drove me insane was in the original opening crawl, they use the term Great Rebellion, Great Rift, Empire, New Empire. Like, he
Yeah.
was thinking of a million names, but not
And it's
quite enough. He still had
No.
to still be reusing stuff.
and yeah, it's like it's all the same thing. Yeah, like we're introduced to the two factions. It's not the Rebel Alliance or the Empire. It's the Empire and the New Empire. But then there is a Rebels later, like, and there's no real army fighting the Empire. This whole movie is about like this ragtag band. It's like
Yes, because they say they introduce an idea of a rebellion,
yeah,
but then there doesn't seem to be any organized rebellion.
yeah. The story is kind of set up of the Empire has basically conquered everything, and this is the last planet they're coming to get.
Yes.
Which the name of the planet, it's like Aquis.
Aquis?
Yeah, it's something really.
No one
weird.
could figure out how to pronounce it, so that's another
No.
thing they did not use in any of them.
Yeah, and like Alderaan is actually the home of the Empire. Is like in the
Yes.
very beginning, it's like they show the Emperor and a couple general guys and Darth Vader
And they
on
all
Alderaan.
have names, and they all have their own things going on.
Every character, every minor character, like some dude they see across the street is a named character, and you get his history
Yes.
in this script.
Yes.
Yeah, this was the script. I send out the list of scripts for people to choose, and this was the one you chose. And I mean, we're probably the two biggest Star Wars freaks in this place, so it's kind of
100%.
perfect.
I love Star Wars, and I told you I watched New Hope this weekend just to kind of compare it, and
Which I haven't even watched that in a while.
It's hard to compare this to that.
It's amazing that this is even related. I don't know if you've ever read Dune or seen the movie of Dune, not the David Lynch one, but then they also did like a mini series on Sci-Fi. It's a really hardcore sci-fi book, and it's very good. The book is good. The movie is not. The mini series is good. But this feels very much like Dune.
There's a lot of hard sci-fi in here, which there really isn't in Star Wars.
No,
but
there's like no science in Star Wars.
all of a sudden they talk about preserving brains in here.
Yeah.
Which is so funny, because you were asking me the other day if I was at the part about preserving brains. I'm like, no, I wasn't. But then I realized, I was, because they mention it for an entire page of, hey, we need to preserve these brains. And then that is never brought up, like, hey,
ever again.
Hey, can you take these brains to a different planet?
Yeah, and they're talking about like evacuating this planet and sending people in different areas, and it never really comes up. Like, this whole movie is basically, if you take the ragtag band of crew in the first Star Wars movie, and like they're the whole rebellion.
Yeah.
Like, they're the only people that actually do anything.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're not even doing anything. It's a lot of like,
sometimes they're pinching butts.
yeah, which was really weird. The character of Anakin in this.
The funny thing is, I had a really hard time picturing any of the actors from Star Wars being the people in this, because they're completely separate. But I saw Hayden Christensen as this character.
You actually saw him?
When I was like imagining it, just kind of mopey, erratic, annoying guy who occasionally was like harassing people.
Yeah, which there's a lot of harassment in this script, honestly. The characters of Luke and Anakin. So they introduce, like, in the beginning, first of all, it starts off with child death, which is something we talked about before. This is a very dark script. There's child death. There's multiple just dead bodies kind of popping out for dramatic effect. Mm-hmm. There's multiple suicides and a lot of sacrifice going on.
Yeah. There's a mutilated child.
Yes. Like, this thing is...
Beyond the child death that you see on camera.
Yeah.
You see also a child's body, yeah.
So, like, we're immediately introduced to Anakin and his little brother. Is it Beak or Deke? Something like that? Deke?
Yeah.
He's on for, like, 2 pages, so it honestly doesn't even matter. And they have a father named Kane, who's kind of inconsequential to anything. And, like, it starts off with them killing a Sith, who the Sith are very different in this script.
Yes.
And they fly off planet, and Deke is killed immediately. And then Kane immediately dumps Anakin off on Luke, who's kind of the Obi-Wan stand-in. As we said, there's no Obi-Wan in here. Yeah. Luke is basically Obi-Wan.
And there's a lot of Jedi lore in that, in the sense of, like, they talk about, like, he's 5th level. He's mastered these disciples and, like, these disciplines, I mean, and there's
so much, like, not to borrow it from Star Trek, but, like, technobabble. Like, there's a lot of, everything has, like, a classification and...
he's on level N, or like everything is.
Yeah, like the first dialogue in the movie is about Deke saying that he's passed the test to this level and he knows all these principles and stuff. It's like, who cares? Like, none of that. We never know what any of it means. There's no like Jedi Bible in the beginning of this book to let us know. Although the script kind of reads like a Bible.
Yes.
Because there's so much text. But there's just a lot of stuff being thrown around that we don't understand what it means.
No, there's a lot. There's one of the things I found very interesting is like not in the dialogue. There was just the term at one point, the Sith 100 or something to that effect, like the 100 Sith or whatever.
Yeah.
But that is not even in the dialogue to explain.
No.
It's just like, the 100 Sith. And it's
like there's so much. I mean, I understand this is billed as a rough draft, and it's not. It doesn't read like a film script at all. It definitely reads more like a book. But like, there's so much. Like, for one, the dialogue is all very robotic. Like, I don't know if you got that sense. I didn't feel any emotion in any dialogue line ever.
No, there was not emotion. People seemed to be just saying things to each other that were complete non sequiturs.
Yeah, it felt kind of like
the replies were odd.
It felt like you were listening to Middle Ages dialogue. Mm-hmm. Like, everybody spoke very properly, and like even when people are dying, it's all just like, I don't even know how to describe it, but it felt like I was reading. It's like it's a sci-fi script, but it feels like I'm reading about characters from the Dark Ages. It was
There, no one had emotion. There is,
even when like the Princess Leia, her mom is killed
by a nuke.
Yeah, so they're like in a cave and they leave, and so there is a comic version of this, and I told you I was reading. So they took this script and they adapted it into a Marvel comic, and I was kind of flipping back and forth between the script and the comic, and for the most part, it's identical. They kind of cut some dialogue here and there and condense it a little bit, but for the most part, all the beats of the story are there. But that is one scene that is a little different. Is she knows that her mom is going to commit suicide. In fact, she's the one who asks Luke, like, "Oh, when is the explosion going to happen?" But in the script, it's like, Luke's just like,
out of nowhere.
Yeah, there's no hint that this is gonna happen. It's like they're on a cliff overlooking the place, and Leia seems like, oh, it's kind of nice, we're gonna get away, she's gonna live, and then all of a sudden, just nuclear explosion underground
of everyone. It seems like everyone Leia has known in her life. It just
like her father's already been killed.
Yes.
Her mom's the last of her family, and then these are the people that they could trust, and then they all just blow up, and it's. To me, it's implied that the Queen did it herself, and maybe all these other people that were in this base weren't aware of what was going to happen.
God. I legitimately could not tell. It could have been her. Yeah. The script leaves it very ambiguous of just like, and Leia, get over this really quick.
Yeah, and Luke's just like, oh, well, we had to make sure there could be no traitors. So the only people that know are now all dead.
Okay, and the other weird thing about, like, they're very concerned about there being, like, extra people around. Because, okay, in this script, Leia has 2 brothers.
Yes.
And those 2 brothers are doing all right for a while.
Yeah.
And then they need to find Lizard Han Solo and transport these boys somewhere else. So they decide to put them in like some sort of deep sleep that involves injecting them with some sort of sleep serum, then connecting them to batteries.
Yeah, which is, it's never explained how this works.
Yeah, and then they're just stuffed in backpacks.
Yeah, and they carry them around.
For a good part of the movie.
They become a burden for like halfway through the movie to the end.
Just 2 sleeping kids stuffed in backpacks.
Yeah.
But
which goes to show why they cut those characters out later.
Yes, they serve zero purpose. But for one point, they cannot find a battery to attach this sleeping kid.
Yeah.
So they're just like, and it's I can't find a battery. Well, I guess we'll have to kill him then.
Yeah.
So fast.
Yeah.
It goes from, can't attach a battery to this kid. We gotta kill him because he will be a liability. It's like, what?
There is reckless abandonment for all life in this script. And then immediately, so Kane has already established that. So Kane like dumps his kid on Luke, and then he disappears. Then he comes back for like some reason.
Yeah, and then they meet up with him.
Yeah,
it's like, what?
He's like, I need you to take my son because oh, by the way, he's full robot. Like he's like
At one point he says, I got a head and I got a right arm. Everything else is
no
wires.
heart or lungs to keep him alive. So however these robotics work,
all he needs is a head.
Yeah, he's got a brain. So he's like, I'm a cyborg. I'm not as good as I used to be. Please take my son and finish his training because he's at such and such level. And
Padawan 5 level. This my disciple.
Absolutely,
discipline.
Something we all understand. And then they go on their adventure to try to smuggle themselves off planet, and they meet up with them. Like, why weren't they just all hanging out to begin with?
And then he dies.
Yeah, and then he's like, oh, we need a battery, so here, just take mine.
Yeah.
Which is very Terminator Salvation of him.
And then he dies really quick, and people are sad, don't really seem to care.
Yeah, nobody cares about death in this.
People are getting over death real quickly.
Yeah, there's a lot of death in Star Wars, apparently.
But something I did find interesting was apparently these people, which is the last planet, the Aquis, or whatever the planet is.
The last free planet.
They have found a way to extend life for 200 years.
Yeah, I caught that
which
too.
Which is a big throwaway line. I'm like, so what are we dealing with here?
Yeah.
How old's everybody? I'd love to know. But
there's so much stuff introduced in this script, and it's like, I feel like he was very focused on building a world, which, I mean, Star Wars is definitely a universe. They have an expanded universe for a reason, because it's so interesting.
A thing that I wrote down that I did love was, I love this dumb Star Wars stuff, is it says, lights up like a bantha at feeding time. That is a line in the script. Does not explain what a bantha is.
No.
You have no idea, but it just says that, and I love that Star Wars stuff. That when they have a term for everything, and
this has that.
Oh, this has that. There was a point in one of the new, because now with the Force Awakens, there's a new expanded universe, and I can't remember for the life of me what it was, but they kept using, like, I want to say, like, some bug, maybe mosquito or something. I was getting so mad. Like, mosquitoes don't exist in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah,
okay,
I've never heard anybody talk about a mosquito.
There's some dumb term for it that someone invented in some book, and you gotta use it.
So far, I have not read any of the new expanded universe stuff, because I'm hearing none of it's really that good.
They're stalling.
Yeah.
Because they don't know what they can and can't say.
Exactly.
So I've read a couple. There's a good Leia one.
Yeah.
But
there's
a lot
a
of it's
new
falling.
Ahsoka one that I was actually at Barnes & Noble the other day, and I was looking at that one. I was like,
it was great. I read it.
You read that one?
Want to borrow it?
Yeah, I actually would like to borrow that.
It was definitely a very young adult novel.
Yeah.
Good, quick read.
Well, that's good for me then, because I'm not reading a lot lately anyway. So
that's one where they have a start and finish. They have a place for Ahsoka to be in the universe, so they can create a middle. For a lot of them, they're like, all right, well, we know what happens.
So does it take place, because I haven't watched Star Wars Rebels, but she's in Star Wars Rebels, and so is this kind of where she is in between Clone Wars and Rebels?
Exactly, yeah. It kind of brings her to, I wouldn't say the start of Rebels, but on the path to get to Rebels.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely, they get her on a path, because they know where she's going. But so many characters, they don't know what the twists and turns are going to be of 8 and 9, so they just can't.
And now that Disney's got it all so controlled, like the beauty about the old expanded universe is the movies were done.
Yeah.
They were done. I mean, they had the prequels that came later, but most of the expanded universe...
And then they kind of tried to fit them in. Well, the expanded universe for a long time went forward, not backward.
And like when they did go backwards, they went way backwards. Like here's Old Republic stuff, which honestly, some of the expanded universe, my favorite of it is the Old Republic stuff. I don't... It's...
All right.
Let's talk about R2-D2 and C-3PO for a minute.
I wrote a note that said R2-D2 most improved character to the movie.
Yeah.
He is a little whiny bitch.
He is. So annoying. What I noticed is most of the dialogue that R2-D2 has, they took it and gave it to C-3PO in the movie.
Yes.
Because there are straight up lines that R2-D2 says, like the scene in particular where they first crash land in the desert, which is not Tatooine, it's this... The whole movie basically takes place in and around this one planet.
Yeah.
And then they like...
That Leia's father's the king of...
Yes.
Murder.
And it's like there's all this official terminology in the beginning where they're like, oh, we can't activate any of our army because we need the war codes, and they can't get the war codes because of politics, which leads us to believe that George Lucas has only ever cared about politics.
And logistics of the...
Yeah.
Oh, he loved this. This is what he's been saving. He was saving this up. He was holding the back of his head to make those prequels, and
that's exactly how I felt when I was reading this. Like this reads more like the prequels, and like all the dialogue is so political.
Yeah.
And you can see, like, because you look at Star Wars, he directed the first one. I was gonna fact check this. I totally forgot to, but he didn't direct 2 or 3 or 5 and 6. I mean, and like they were all written from his like vision, I think, but I don't think he is credited as the screenwriter on all those movies.
Reading this, someone was helping him because
100%.
Everything sounds. Even if this, obviously this is not a final draft or anything, but nothing sounds human.
No, not at all.
There is an insane love story that...
I mean, if that's what you want to call it.
It takes place in about a total of 5 lines.
Yeah.
It's
scattered throughout the script, not even like in unison.
All of a sudden, it's Anakin and Leia, and I want to say, I should have taken note, was Leia 14 or something?
They say he's 17, and I want to say they might be the same age.
Okay.
She might be 14, but he's not that far off. He's like
so
17.
they're around the same age, and all of a sudden, she hates him because when they first meet, he punches her right in the face.
Yes. And, like, so the love story of Anakin and Leia is definitely reminiscent of Han and Leia in the script.
Yeah.
And we're to understand, basically, if you want to start comparing people to the original movie, Anakin would basically be Luke. Luke would be Obi-Wan. Leia is still Leia. And Han is still Han to some degree, except he's a giant green alien.
Mm-hmm, of course.
But yeah, so some of the love story that you see in like Empire Strikes Back is kind of reminiscent of Han and Leia and Anakin and Leia. How there's tension, but you can kind of see
antagonizing each other.
But it just has no connection. Like it makes the love story in Episode 2 make so much sense. Of this guy cannot write romance.
No. He so pretty much what happens to start the love story is Anakin needs Leia to go somewhere because he's gotta like save her.
Yeah.
She's like, got a little bit of
it reminded
attitude.
me of Spaceballs, honestly.
Yeah.
Where she's like, I won't go anywhere without my luggage.
Yeah, she's got that little princess attitude. So he punches her in her face and takes her, and she's pissed about it.
Yeah.
Then they kind of round together, and then all of a sudden she just screams at him, "I love you."
Yeah.
And then
it comes from nowhere.
And then he just talks down to her like, "You're a princess. I'm a warrior. You're so
like, what
dumb.
are you doing?" He's like, "Why are you so stupid? This would never work."
Then the next page he goes, "Wait,
it's literally
I love her."
It's literally like a page later.
Wait.
Like he sat in a room for 5 minutes and thought about it. I was like, "Oh yeah, maybe."
Runs off to tell her. What?
This is amazing, and this is like
they barely interact in the rest of the script.
Yeah.
Besides,
there's a lot of like lost time. Like, so there's a scene when they're trying to escape from the planet, and they're like land speeding across the desert, and they split up. Mm-hmm. And we mostly follow Luke's side.
Yes.
And they come across a scout, and then the scout kind of lets them go, and then they come back.
I feel like it was a little hard to visualize in the script, probably because
this part helped reading the comic a little bit. Yeah, so basically it's like, they kind of split off. There's like they see a group of like 10 stormtroopers up ahead. I'm like, oh well, let's split up. So Anakin goes one way, Obi-Wan goes to the left. It's kind of implied they're separated by like a canyon.
Yeah,
so
that much I got.
Yeah, so the stormtroopers end up splitting up, and Anakin runs into his side, and they have a battle, but we don't see that battle. That's never shown to us, because the only interaction we get with them is Obi-Wan.
Sounds?
Yeah, is Obi-Wan talking to Anakin through a communicator. And then Anakin like calls back later and is like, "Oh yeah, like some of them got away, and I'm hurt." And then Obi-Wan ends up taking out the ones that got away, and then
you keep saying Obi-Wan. It's Luke.
Oh, Luke, Jesus,
he is Obi-Wan. Yeah, of course.
I didn't even notice I was doing that. Yeah, no, it's so Luke. Yeah. So Luke ends up taking out the other crew, and then they all kind of hook up back together, and Anakin's been injured. And then there's more banter between him and Leia. It's like, oh, maybe we should just leave him to bleed to death if he was stupid enough to get hurt.
It's like, that isn't like playful, like antagonistic, like
no,
relationship.
she literally said they should just leave him like,
yeah,
dead.
he should bleed to death. Not like, oh, you. It's like, no, you should die because you're an asshole who punched me in the face.
Yeah. And that's kind of the way everybody is in the script. Like, I was reading it, and Luke is like an abusive uncle. Mm-hmm. Like, so there's the scene where Anakin pinches the girl on the butt. Oh. And it comes out of nowhere, and then like 10 minutes later, they're in a closet together.
He pinches this woman's butt in a war room.
Yes.
Where there is pretty much a war taking place.
Yeah. They're like, oh, we have this thing on the screen, and everybody's on high alert, and Anakin is just like standing next to Luke, and he pinches this girl's butt as she walks by. And then like 10 minutes later, they're like stumble out of a closet together. Like they were just cartoonishly fooling around in a closet. And Luke immediately draws his lightsaber, laser sword, on him. And like, is like, yeah, you need to focus. And like, he was just...
he does have a point there.
Yeah.
Not the
no,
time.
he 100% does. And that's something that's kind of the way we learn of like, oh, Jedi aren't supposed to have relationships, because that's something that's hammered into our heads in the prequels. And in the original trilogy, they never really mention that, do they?
No, not really, because there's not. No, I would say no.
Yeah,
it's not really in there.
Like, because I mean, for one, there are no Jedi in the original trilogy. Like Luke and Obi-Wan are the only ones.
And there's no
and Yoda,
and they do a little bit of and he flirts with Leia, but it's not like potential of connection and relationship.
Yeah. But at that point, Luke's on his own anyway. Obi-Wan's dead.
The only real hint to that is Yoda being like, you gotta finish your training. You can't have that kind of... Your connections are really distracting you.
Yeah. And then we come to the prequels, and it's like, that's just the path of the dark side, son. Like...
Yeah. Oh, no.
And that's, kind of where we all know where that goes.
I thought... it was really funny because in Star Wars, the original trilogy, there are very few women. There's Leia, there's Mon Mothma,
And Mon Mothma's a very minor character in that original.
She just gets expanded out.
In the expanded universe, she's made to be one of the most important people. But she's only in Return of the Jedi, isn't she? Yeah. Maybe a scene in Empire, but I don't think so.
But the thing that it made me realize that somehow Lucas naming all of the characters made me realize that there are somehow less women here. I'm like, you have so many people here. Why can't any of them be women?
Yeah, Leia has a handmaiden that's immediately left to whatever happens to her.
Yeah. Queen commits atomic suicide.
Yeah.
And
she's only in one page of the script anyway. And
she also says that she is too old to go with, but she has 2 young children, and apparently they are expanding, sending lifespans 200 years longer. So
none of it makes sense.
Yes. I'm not going to worry about it. And I think there might be a female Wookiee in there.
Yeah, maybe. A
feminine Wookiee-sounding name.
Yeah. I'm trying to... Because, the handmaiden's really the only other woman I can think of. Oh, the girl he pinches to the butt. Who doesn't even get a name. She's the one character in this who does not get a name.
Oh, God, that's even more depressing. Wookiees, we do not hear their names because they don't speak English.
No. And the dialogue is all in Wookiee speak.
Yeah, Han speaking to Chewie.
Yeah, he translates. Yeah, because there's Chewie and Chewbacca, 2 different characters.
One's a pilot, one's still a Wookiee. That seemed like one of the things that kind of stuck.
Yeah.
Wookiees.
Yeah, which I don't know if there was concept art for the this script before the movie ever actually happened, because in the comic they definitely changed the look of everything. Like fighters look like Star Destroyers, so they're like mini Star Destroyers and stuff. But the Wookiees look scary. I will show you the pictures. They are terrifying. And I'm just wondering if there was concept art of the Wookiees out there, because I've seen a lot of the Star Wars documentaries, and he always talks about how he got the idea for the Wookiees from his dog. And
they look pretty dog-like in their current iteration.
Yeah. These things look like terrifying gorilla faces on giant Bigfoot bodies. And I don't know where that design came from. I have a feeling a lot of it was just made up for the book.
Because they want it to look different, to be like, hey, look how different this stuff is.
But I do recall seeing some Darth Vader concept art, because Darth Vader is just a guy in this. In the comic, they kind of give him the same outfit, but he's a dude with a scar on his face, and one of his eyes is just red. And he's just a general. He's not a Sith, he's not a Jedi.
Darth Vader just seems to be... I don't even think Darth is a title. I think it's his name.
That seems to be his name, yeah.
Yeah, first in line.
And the Emperor is not implied to be any kind of special dude either. He's just a politician emperor guy. Yeah. Which we only see him for 1 page anyway.
And it's also implied, I guess, that there is a good emperor who was overthrown by a bad emperor, because the Jedi were the bodyguards to good emperor.
Yeah, because the opening crawl is just the Jedi Bendu used to guard the emperor, and then it's never hinted that there were 2 emperors. I mean,
I assume there are 2 emperors because there's a new empire.
Yeah, that's. But they describe the Empire and New Empire as 2 different factions, and now we're kind of led to believe that one became the other.
Oh boy, I legitimately could not tell from this script.
No, and I mean, like a lot of scripts, a rough draft, there are spelling mistakes. Maybe there are grammar mistakes as well.
Yeah.
I caught a couple of spelling mistakes as I was reading it.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's kind of par for the course for early scripts like this. Most of the ones that I've been reading, you'll find that kind of stuff. But,
I mean... things to name. He doesn't got time to spell check.
Yeah, seriously. Who needs grammar? I'm trying to it blew my mind how much this reminded me of the prequels. How much this made the prequels make sense.
Yeah, no, I with this I understood George Lucas, which made me understand the prequels. Really,
and I'm one of those people. I will defend the prequels to an extent. I as a Star Wars fan, I don't hate any Star Wars movie.
Yeah, I watch them a lot. I don't necessarily like them, but I watch them anyway. What does that mean? What does that mean?
The more I watch them, I think episode 1 has a limit. I've come to this theory with kind of bad movies that they have a limited number of viewings. I have seen the James Bond movie Die Another Day the most times I'll ever be able to watch that movie. I don't think I'll ever watch it again. And I think episode 1 has that counter as well, because the best parts of episode 1 are the 10 minutes in the beginning and the end, the action scenes.
Yeah.
And then there's just a lot of boring to that movie.
But mean, there's a thing to me if it was the first one I saw in theaters.
Yeah, me too. No. I saw. Did the special edition re-releases happen before that?
I honestly only saw Star Wars for the first time slightly before. No, actually.
I mean, I came in because of the release of the special. Like, the special editions were the first Star Wars movies I ever owned. I saw them a lot because my aunt had the VHSs of the original trilogy. And whenever I was at her house, I'd be like, let's watch Star Wars. I wasn't like the crazy fan I am now, but I was on my way.
Yeah.
And it was when I got the special edition for Christmas that I like became a Star Wars fanatic. I mean, I always had like the toys and stuff, but that was when I was watching them on repeat. And I definitely saw Episode 4 special edition in theaters. So whenever that came out, that might have been my first Star Wars movie.
I really got into Star Wars in high school when I found out that our library had a lot of the expanded universe books.
Yeah. I came into those in like middle school.
Yeah, I just everyone I could find, just getting into it, and that really got me into watching them over and over again to find all the little things.
Yeah, because like the way they tie that stuff in is great.
Yeah, it's really impressive with how many books that they have, that continuity.
Yeah,
it's the only thing I've really read like that. Because
and continuity is something we lose here. I do want to point out this. So there is a Sith character in this script.
Yes. What's
his
deal?
Name? I don't know. His name is Prince Valorum. Which, isn't that a character's name in Spaceballs? Or no, that was episode 1.
Yeah,
Chancellor Valorum. That was my note. Yeah. And he's basically the Darth Vader stand-in of the script, but he doesn't do a whole lot.
No, he's supposed to be very scary.
Like, yeah, even Darth Vader is, like, afraid of him.
Yes, he definitely, there's a thing where I'm just like, okay, there's a short description, I'm like, alright, so he's Darth Vader seems to be just a white guy in a uniform.
Yeah, and that's how he's portrayed in the comic as well.
Yeah, this guy seems to be the Darth Vader character.
Yeah.
But not that intimidating and makes a real quick turn at the end.
Yeah, out of nowhere. So, like, the one thing he does is he captures them, and then they get away.
Yeah.
So there's, like, a whole scene. So when they're trying to escape the planet, they get captured by the Sith guy, and then I guess they're on one of the Empire ships. That part of the script gets a little fuzzy for me. And they escape the ship onto what is basically the Millennium Falcon, which I want to say they refer to it as the Star Killer in the script. I'm not 100% on that, but it really confused me. So they escape onto the ship, and then Darth Vader kind of pokes fun of this Sith guy. And then the Sith guy reappears at the end.
He gets embarrassed, too. That made me laugh. That
he
was just like this big guy, just like, he's really ashamed of himself.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude.
Yeah.
I love you.
And then, so, Anakin... So, okay, then I guess the next step would be they go to Yavin. So they end up on Yavin. They, like, crash land there. Mm-hmm. And that leads to them finding the Wookiees. So Yavin is basically the Endor stand-in from Return of the Jedi.
The one thing I would love to see, there's a part where all the Wookiees paint their ships.
Yeah.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, which it's in the comic. Awesome. I didn't show you there, which the ships all look like Y-Wings. So, okay, so what are the major... So we got the major events from A New Hope. We got the trash compactor scene. We got the TIE fighter scene. We have a really quick
version of the bar scene.
Yes, there is a cantina scene.
One of the only lines of dialogue.
It's like identical to the movie.
It's identical. He doesn't like you.
I don't like you either. Which Luke, unlike Obi-Wan and any other Jedi in any other Star Wars movie, is so quick to kill.
Yes.
Like there is no hesitation.
Everybody be chopped in half.
Yeah. Like they're definitely closer to what a samurai was, which is kind of, what they were based on to begin with. Where they're warriors. They're not like peacekeepers. They are here to kill, not keep the peace.
Yeah. For all the words about Jedi that are used in all the terms and everything, the Force somehow seems more vague.
It's like not here.
No,
like,
there's the term, may the force of others be with you.
Yes,
which
instead
sounds
of may
like
the force be with you.
People are just going to push you around.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
And there's
a
lot of talk when people die about they are now part of the Force.
And there's a mention of, like, they do hand signals over dead bodies at one point.
Yeah.
That I remember.
But there's no actual, like, Force power
but
in this.
It's also, like, and then he jumped real far. It's sometimes part of the script. I'm like, okay, so...
Because you think back to A New Hope, there's the scene where Obi-Wan explains what the Force is.
Yeah.
It's the power that surrounds us and binds us and all penetrates, all that stuff. There's none of that in this script. There's no explanation ever to what the Force actually is. There's no real demonstration of Force power. There's no, like, oh, he used the Force to do this.
It just seems to be people are jumping and
it's just implied.
Yeah, people are good at swords and jumping, and that's what Jedi are.
The Jedi are not the only ones that use swords. Like,
no, also, a lot of people do.
Like everybody does. It
laser
just seems,
swords.
yeah, laser swords just seem to be part of the standard military outfit.
Yeah, you got a laser gun, you got a laser sword, you're set.
Yeah, even the Jedi are using guns too. Mm-hmm. So it's all very different. Like, and then so we do have the cantina scene where he cuts off the dude's arm, but I think he just cuts him in half or something in this one.
I think he kills multiple people. I think he cuts off like one guy's hand, then cuts it. He's not getting off free here.
In the movie, Obi-Wan cuts off the dude's arm and they kind of back off. But yeah, I think in this he just kills them both. Yeah. And he's like, yeah, just pay the bartender to keep it quiet. And then that's when we're introduced to Han Solo, just like we are in the movie. But in this, Han Solo and Luke are like old buddies. Like they know each other, and he's excited to see him, and they're gonna escape together.
Big lizard.
Yeah. Big 7-foot tall lizard.
Uh-huh.
And so so we got the TIE fighter scene. So yeah, when they escape so this is kind of crossing into Empire Strikes Back territory too. Because like I said, you can see all 3 movies in this script. So they escape from the Imperial ship on their ship, and they go into an asteroid field. So right away we get the asteroid field from Empire.
Real fast though.
Yeah. And it's not the same kind of asteroid field scene, but yeah, they go, I think in between there is when they have the TIE fighter battle, like when they're in the 2 gunner positions, and there's another character, I can't remember his name. There's another character along with them, another guy.
Oh yeah,
his name started with a C. I can't remember his name, but he was actually kind of an interesting character.
But he was obvious. I'm like, oh, he's gonna die.
Oh yeah, for sure. And he sacrifices himself to save Leia at one point. Yeah, he's there to just be a body.
That guy is going down.
Yeah, but he's around for a long time.
He is. It was really funny because I was like, I guess because he doesn't have an analog. I'm just like,
no, he
didn't have an analog. He didn't have a specific purpose.
Yeah, he's just one of like the troopers, basically.
Yeah, it's like at one point Luke's like, I got to bring along my best 2 guys. He's like,
yeah,
Anakin and the other one.
Yeah, and I guess you could kind of assume that maybe he became Han, like he just turned Han into this dude and made him live. But there's no strong argument there other than the fact that he's a human. So maybe that's just something I'm coming up with.
He definitely doesn't have the personality.
No, he doesn't. He's a shell basically. He's there. He's involved in some action scenes. Like him and Anakin, I think, are paired off for a little while.
He's a guy to carry around the body that is these 2 young boys in backpacks.
Yeah, because him and Anakin are carrying the boys. So when they're on the ship, they try to find the boys, who are just a real burden.
And at one point, they wake up these boys.
Yeah.
And one gets a pet rabbit.
Yeah, just
for
out of nowhere.
a scene, and then the pet rabbit is murdered.
Because nobody can be happy in this story. Yeah, out of nowhere, stormtroopers like
they call him a thumper, which I do like as a Star Wars term for a rabbit. Like, that's definitely a rabbit, right?
That's a good Star Wars name. Which in the comic that part isn't even really explained, but the animal is just shown to look like a big dragon thing that's dog size.
I just assumed, it's just rabbit, right? Thumper.
Yeah, I don't know. They show like a dog sized lizard in the comic, which. It's amazing.
Way better.
You should really read the comic.
Way better than the dog.
I mean, maybe don't read the comic because reading this is kind of painful, but maybe flip through it.
I just want to see, I'd love some concept art.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, I think there was some Darth Vader concept art, and I think the comic matches that. I really want to kind of do some research into this to see how much concept art was out there.
Rabbit hole.
Yeah. I'm sure it's all out there somewhere.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, they go to Yavin. And Yavin is basically our Endor stand-in, because like how we've always heard, instead of Ewoks, it was supposed to be Wookiees. This is where the Wookiees are.
This is the one part where I'd say this is better.
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, Wookiees makes more sense.
Wookiees are cool.
Yeah, I mean, the Wookiees in the comic kind of like took me away. Yeah, it kind of took me away from it a little bit. And I'm one of those people, I never minded the Ewoks in Return of the Jedi. I mean, obviously they're the cutest freaking things ever.
Yeah.
But it kind of was like, obviously the Empire wouldn't expect these little unassuming things to take them out.
Turn of play.
Yeah. And the Wookiees are kind of treated the same way, even though Wookiees are far more imposing, but they're not smart.
One of my favorite things is they decide they're going to teach Wookiees how to fly.
Oh my god, yeah.
And Anakin just goes, I will teach them to fly, and Luke apparently just shoots him. I'm like, don't be racist. That's what I think of in my mind. Like, yo, man.
Like, come on.
This is space. Don't be racist.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous.
And then they teach all the Wookiees how to fly in 2 lines.
Yeah, in it's like it's implied that they hung out there for like a couple days, and by the end of those 2 days, all the Wookiees are expert pilots, and they're gonna go take out the Death Star. Like, we trained these Neanderthals to fly ships, and now we're gonna go after the most powerful weapon in the galaxy, which expert pilots couldn't defeat in the beginning.
What is that John Travolta movie? Battlefield Earth? Is that
isn't it Battlefield Earth?
I think so.
The really terrible like Scientology movie?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happens in that movie.
I've never seen Battlefield Earth, so.
Oh my god. You have to watch it just because of all the Dutch angles that for no reason.
I've seen like clips from it, and I've seen like a trailer for it, and I think I've seen the ending to see how like terrible the I think I YouTubed the cracking of the dome scene, because that's the one thing I always hear about.
Yes.
And I didn't understand what was so terrible about it until I YouTubed it.
At one point, they teach a bunch of Neanderthals to fly. At that point, I think 1,000-year-old fighter planes that they find in like there's so much. But that reminds me.
And that was based on a book, right?
Yeah, I think it's all L. Ron Hubbard stuff.
Yeah. So I wonder if that came out before Star Wars, because Star Wars was 1977 when it released. I don't know when this was written.
I don't know, but
it wasn't L. Ron Hubbard in like the 60s.
I think so, but yeah, there's a scene where all the.
Do you think George Lucas stole this from L. Ron Hubbard?
Teaching Wookiees how to fly. Hey, it's actually done. Surprisingly, this is the part that's done better in the script than that movie, because that one's pretty brutal.
Like, as much as we're here kind of cracking on it, I was telling you before that like there are ideas in here, and Star Wars is not a like hard sci-fi series.
No.
But there is a hard sci-fi series in this script that I think could be branched out. Like, if he wanted to do some new sci-fi series, I think he could take some unused ideas from here, like the brain thing, and make something else. I mean, I don't know if I'd want him to do it now reading this. Maybe give those ideas to another writer.
Well, I feel like someone took this script and was like, I guess I can work with this, and then I guess these names are cool, and just tore it down because I just...
So while we were sitting here, I did do some fact checking.
All right.
George Lucas is credited as the writer for the first movie.
All right.
He is not the writer of the sequels, except for the prequels. He wrote and directed all 3 prequels.
And you can just feel his fingers all over those
like
movies.
I get the feeling that like he turned this in and it became what it became, and he just for years was like, all that politics stuff, man, it would have been great. Like, I just need to get it into a movie, and then he wrote the prequels based on that feeling.
And everyone's like, "You're a genius, man. Do what you're doing."
Yeah. Like, all those people, I don't know if you noticed when Episode 7 came out, there was, like, a petition to get, like, bring George back. Like, after Episode 7 came out, like, there was a lot of people that I guess didn't like it. Yeah, did you not see this?
No.
There were people, I guess, that hated Episode 7 and were like, it would have been better if George Lucas had handled it, and were, like, petitioning to bring George back to, like, write 8 and 9.
Yeah,
and I think those really people need to read this.
Politics and racist accents. That's what this Episode 7 was missing.
Like, I'm sorry. My all-time favorite movie is Empire Strikes Back. Like, when people ask me what my favorite movie is, I consider Star Wars 1 through 6 to be one movie, and I would just say Star Wars. But if you ask me to pick one, I would say The Empire Strikes Back. And my list of favorite Star Wars movies, like, currently, it would be like 5, 6, 7, 4, 3, 2, 1.
I'm pretty close on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, depending on when I watched it, I might bump 3 over 4, depending on my mood.
Really? Ooh. Honestly though, 3 might be my least favorite.
Least favorite of the prequels? That's the one considered the best.
There's, I don't know, emotional investment. I don't know what it is. I'm just like, yeah, make him Darth Vader already.
Yeah. I mean, but I will say, the scene where he becomes Darth Vader is amazing. When they put the helmet on and you hear him breathe for the first time,
if that could be
great.
the movie, I'd love it.
Yeah.
If that was just...
All the lightsaber scenes are great.
Yeah.
The opening battle scene, like, in space, I love it.
That was too much for me. I don't know what
I love that. I love the space battles. I wish there was more of them. Like, watching the Clone Wars, when you see the big ship battles, that's some of my favorite stuff from that show. The Clone Wars does the prequels better than the prequels do, so...
It's so funny. I definitely am the girl in the sense of I like emotional beats of stuff, and I want to see people interacting and that kind of stuff, and I am not into the space battles, and that was the kind of part of the script that was actually hard for me to get into. I think part of it is because...
It's pretty rough to read. Like,
yeah, I don't even like... Even the really good...
He describes things in excruciating detail, and when you read, like, multiple scripts, you'll notice differences in writers. I think I said this before on another episode, but like, for example, like if you take a fight scene, one writer might, like, let's say you got a fight scene where, let's take the fight scene from episode 3. So we know how it ends with Obi-Wan like on the rock or whatever. Someone might write that as they fight, they battle across all this stuff, Obi-Wan gets the upper hand.
Yeah.
While other writers will give you every excruciating detail of that fight, and George Lucas is one of those writers apparently, and it really bogs it down.
Somehow, they're mostly at weird points, and then at other points he isn't. At other points, all the Wookiees have learned how to fly.
Yeah, the ending of this is very rushed.
Oh my god, I couldn't. Like, after there's so much nonsense, and then I'm like, I got a
this
page
script
left.
Is like 128 pages. Which is, it's not that much longer than like your average screenplay, but that's too much.
Yeah, and then it's destroy the Death Star, dun dun, medal ceremony.
Yeah, and
everyone's smiling and like
I don't remember if they say this in the script, but I know in the comic R2D2 and C3PO get medals too. I don't know if that was established in
the one thing that I realized in the script is Chewbacca definitely does get a medal.
Yes,
it's very specific, and I'm like, are you
there's like a whole scene where they're giving him the medal, and I laughed so hard when I read that.
Yeah, it's so
and I'm just
perfect.
Like, why would they take that out?
He gets his own like separate medal thing, and I just love it because it's like, wow,
he's basically like the ambassador for the Wookiees at this point.
Yeah,
and just that
he's from a very important clan.
Yeah, and like the whole the relationship that we know of like Han and Chewie is just it's there in the sense that he's his interpreter.
Yes,
but this is them meeting for the first time.
Yeah, Han Solo seems to be the only, I was gonna say human, but only big lizard guy who speaks both basic, as it's known in the Star Wars universe, and whatever the Wookiee language is.
Growling.
Just growl. It says growling in this script.
Yeah. There's the hint of the life debt. Is like so I thought Anakin was the one that got the life debt, but they say they made him a god.
That was because I'm like, the life debt is such a simple theory. I can't believe George Lucas didn't get that right on the first pass. I'm just like, I owe you my life. That's like a really.
Yeah, because he saved them, right? Like, he saved them from, like, some hunters
and,
or something.
And Chewbacca kind of follows them as they leave the Wookiee, like,
and Anakin can't speak the language. He's like, no, you stay. But he, like, Chewbacca just follows him.
He's racist.
Yes.
He's racist towards the Wookiees. He's like, no, you stay. And he's like, why does he keep following me?
No, it's okay, colored boy. You stay over there. Like, it's so weird. Anakin is a really kind of deplorable character in this.
The worst.
Yeah. And then, like, the whole love thing is, like, so when they're on Yavin, he's like, I'm just going to go rescue Princess Leia myself. And so he goes to the Death Star by himself.
Something that was really weird about the Leia capture thing is they say multiple times that she's going to have a procedure done. Did you notice that?
I don't think I caught that.
Okay, there's, like, twice where they say, like, the doctor for a procedure or something.
That sounds vaguely familiar. The end, it becomes such a blur by the end of this thing.
Just really grossed me out for some reason. The word procedure.
I mean, in A New Hope, there's that robot that comes in with like the syringe and stuff on it.
There is a torture robot at some point, right?
Yeah. It's like the little black ball that just kind of floats in. And I think that's where that's not where they get the Alderaan thing from her, is it? Because that happens before they blow up Alderaan, I think, which Alderaan is obviously fine in this. No planet actually gets blown up in this.
No, Death Star really don't do a lot in this movie. Just kind of ominous.
It kills the king, I think, because they're like, there's two suns. Then one of those suns apparently is like a laser blast or something, and it just.
The king dies off camera, right? Or,
he's on screen, but he's not like present. Like it's these
there's
two
a lot
farmers.
Going on.
Yeah, there's these two farmers watching the king's like land speeder go across the desert, and then it gets blown up by, assuming, the Death Star. Which they don't even call it the Death Star. It's not the Death Star. It's the Class M fucking...
Death Star too cool. Got me more technical.
Yeah. I can't even remember what C-3PO calls it. But interesting thing to note is C-3PO and R2-D2 are Imperial droids. Yeah. And they end up... Because the Death Star is being attacked by the fighters, and they take an escape pod because they're little wussies down to the planet.
Freak out.
They're yelling at all times.
They are a little old married couple in this movie, even more than they are, because they can both talk, which makes it somehow way worse.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned that R2-D2 is a chatterbox in this thing.
Yeah.
And he's always screaming. Like, R2 more than 3PO, he is constantly, like, all capital text and yelling at each other.
I didn't quite get their droid, they're like, hey, yeah, if you got a droid, it'll do whatever you say and don't even worry about it.
Yeah, like they're there to serve any human, not
anyone.
That seems like bad programming.
Bad security system. Yeah, if you ask a droid, if you find a droid, you can ask it to do anything, and it's gotta do it.
He straight up says they're there not to harm you. They'll answer any question. It doesn't matter as long as you're a human. Like that's basically a line in the script.
Yeah, that was they can't.
There's so much like exposition to get out of a situation.
Yes.
Like Luke's just like, oh, here, let me explain to you this thing about our world, and this is why our plan is going to work, and it works
because he explained how it's going to work, and then that thing happens.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of expositional dialogue, and a lot of it comes from Luke. Like he's the one kind of anchoring everything in this script. He's
a general who
murders
a lot.
Yeah,
he's a murdering general.
There's so much death in the script.
Luke wants to go to war to save this planet from being the ones being, keep them independent.
Yeah, he's almost like a warmonger.
Yeah, everyone's like, you know what? We're all gonna die. We should release the next tree. And Luke's like, no. And like,
but of course, politics is holding it up.
Yes, politics is. Yeah, Luke wants to go for it, and politics are holding him up, and they lose.
It's basically
really
the
quickly.
story of episode 1.
Yes.
It's like, it's not a trade embargo. It's like, hey, we're the last planet, and they're on their way.
But there are traders involved, and then they disappear.
Yes.
They just mentioned, like, because there is logistics with trade early in the script.
Yeah.
And then it's thrown out the window.
Like, the first 10 minutes of the script is episode 1. It's like the trade dispute of episode 1.
Yeah, there's politicians, there's Empire, and there's two trade people in a bar being like, oh man, these Empire restrictions.
Yeah, and Luke is Queen Amidala, or he wants to go to war. Or no, I guess she didn't want to go to war.
No, it's
Palpatine like convinces her to go to war.
Yeah, kind of.
And then convinces her to elect him to help elect him.
From Chancellor Valorum.
Yes. From the Sith guy who... We touched on that he has a quick turn, but we haven't really discussed it.
Life of me can't... All of a sudden, he's like, I guess I'll help you out.
Yeah, so I got the impression when... I was very confused when reading that scene, because it seemed like... So Luke is... or Anakin is captured. God, I keep fucking up the names. Anakin is captured. He goes to rescue the princess by himself, while Luke is teaching the Wookiees how to fly. And he is captured, and he's captured by the Sith guy, and they got him all strung up, and the Vader comes in and is kind of making fun of the Sith guy, like, we caught him, you didn't catch him, ha ha ha. And then Vader leaves, and the Sith guy decides to just break out Luke. And so there was like a line of dialogue where I thought like, oh, he was going to break him out because he wants to have a one-on-one battle with him, because he's like, oh, Jedi and Sith do it the honorable way. But no, he's breaking him out to help him. So I was very confused.
He's at that medal ceremony at the end.
He becomes a good guy. Like this Sith guy, and there's like a line of dialogue.
Maybe the last 10 pages, maybe the last 5 pages.
It's very rushed. Like it's like in Return of the Jedi when Luke has like, the Emperor's dead and blah blah blah, and he's got to escape from the ship while the Death Star is like blowing up.
Yeah,
that's basically happening while they're trying to save the princess.
And there's the trash compactor scene, but instead of the 3 of them, it's Valorum, Anakin, and Leia.
Yeah, and then the power gets knocked out by the Wookiees, and then they're able to escape.
Yeah, that scene was done so much better in the movie. Yeah. It's so not dramatic. It's just and the power's gone.
Yeah, and it's like Darth Vader. Like the one good thing they add in this scene is like Darth Vader knows they're in the trash compactor, and he's like, "Oh, I have a surprise for them," implying that he turned it on, and like, "Oh, we're just gonna crush them and be done with it."
Yeah,
that's really the only good part of that scene. But yeah, it's weird. This trash compactor scene is like the only like really major scene I can think of from A New Hope that doesn't happen in this is the swinging across the bridge, or the broken out bridge with the grappling hook.
Definitely, I'm trying to think of other ones, but that definitely doesn't happen.
Yeah. I mean, there's the scene where he's staring at the 2 suns, which that never happens.
Don't stare at any suns.
There's no emotion in this movie.
Yeah, everyone's just doing their job in this 5-hour, what would be a 5-hour long movie.
This would be so long. I mean, we were talking about this before. The general rule of thumb is like a minute per page. But with how much text is on one of these pages, like, it's like 5 minutes per page at least.
Yeah, because it's a lot. Yeah. People are just monologuing about anything
so
and
much
everything.
Talking in this. Like, it really feels like I'm so sorry you haven't seen Dune, but it really feels like Dune, which is like about, I would say watch the sci-fi miniseries because it's very faithful to the book. And the books are actually good. Like, it's this crazy sci-fi story about, oh, they have this planet and there's all this spice on this planet and it's like the most valuable mineral or anything in the whole galaxy. So there's like these 3 families that live on this planet and everybody's vying for control of this spice. It's very political, but there's like some action stuff in there. David Lynch made a movie in like 84 or something that's not at all related to the book. I mean, it's based on the book, but it's not. I don't know if you know anything about David Lynch. He's the weirdest fucking guy in the world.
Doing what he wants to do.
Yeah. And he did what he wanted to do. Like, I think David Bowie or Sting is in the movie or something. It's really fucking weird. And reading the script, I very much get that kind of sci-fi feel from this.
It's not the same kind of sci-fi that Star Wars is, which is...
It's not a space opera, which is how Star Wars was always described. Like, how he always talked about, like, oh, he was inspired by the serials. This does not feel like a serial.
No, not at all.
No, it's like Flash Gordon and stuff is always like something he mentions as inspiration. There's none of that here.
No, it's just dense people talking.
Yeah, there's so much.
And they are dense. And the people are dense.
And the pacing of it, the action is very sporadically paced throughout the script. Like, there's no action or anything for a very long time.
Yes, one thing I kept thinking about is they switch between everything so much that if this was made into the Star Wars movie, I was just thinking about how many wipes would be in like.
Oh my god, yeah.
Because every couple like sentences, it's like, let's let this person say one line and switch to another scene.
Yeah, because basically in Star Wars, it's like every time they jump to a new location, there's a wipe, there's a new location every page almost.
Yeah, there's like so many wipes.
Like watching the supercut of all the wipes from like all 6 movies would be like half of this script of wipes.
Yeah, there'd be a lot of wipes. I
didn't even think.
It would be. I kept picturing by the end, every time they start mentioning the location, I'm like, and a wipe.
Yeah.
And a wipe.
I should have watched the movie as I was reading this because I feel like I would have kind of picked up on something like that. Because that's something I didn't even think about, and that's like a staple of the franchise.
Yeah, it's a classic. But I just.
This thing is weird. Yeah, like there's so little action in the script that the comic actually adds an action scene. Like there's a scene where they're like when they first leave to like try to smuggle themselves off the planet, they stop at like a gas station stand-in because they need power cells.
Where there is a kid, a dad, and a mom who have been tortured and
they're hanging and their dead bodies are hanging. And they're like, oh, well, let's get some power cells and get out of here. And then some stormtroopers show up. And they convince the stormtroopers to just give them some cells and send them on their way. In the comic,
they provide the papers because George Lucas is worried about logistics. Make sure they have those papers.
Yeah, there's a lot of talk of there's a lot of Obi-Wan preparing for stuff throughout the script. Like the scene with the brains, like he goes into a room like, oh, we're not ready yet. You can just wait around. And there's just like a lot of scenes like that in this with Obi-Wan or Luke. God damn it.
Yeah, it is a lot. Definitely waiting, planning, making sure to have the correct papers. Like everyone is checking everything.
He put a lot of thought into the logistics of this movie.
Yeah, what the stormtroopers need, what papers, and at one point they need 2 kind of papers, not papers, but like where you got that cube. Where's your disc?
Yeah, it's like when they're trying to board the ship or whatever to get off planet. It's like, oh yeah, all these new rules, hard to keep up, and it's like. It is insane.
Well, I didn't know the old rules, so I don't care that there are new rules.
Yeah, you gotta think, like when you're watching a movie, all the text that's in between the dialogue and stuff, the viewer's not getting. Mm-hmm. Like when you're reading this stuff, you're understanding it because you're reading it. But like, you gotta think, if we were just watching this and we only had the dialogue, we wouldn't know what the fuck was going on in this movie. Yeah, there's
so much, there's a lot of dialogue, but so much is explained in between the dialogue, and I can't imagine how it would look.
And even reading the comic, it's because again, it's just the dialogue. Like you get a little bit of visual stuff to help you, but it's still like so. I started reading the comic like long before I was even going to do this podcast. I had the comics. It went on sale. I got it for like $5 or something, and it's like 280 pages. That's big.
Needs to be.
Yeah. And it's like 6 issues or something in one book or something like that. Mm-hmm. It might even be like 7 or 10. And there's like. I was reading it. I started reading it, and I got like, I don't know, not even like I didn't even finish the first issue. And I was like, I don't know what's going on. So like when I started reading the script, and I was like, oh, I can kind of go back to the comic now and start understanding it a little more. Like even in comic form, it's really confusing.
I'd imagine, yeah. It took a lot of notes to kind of keep everything straight.
Yeah.
I mean, it is harder actually reading it, I think, having seen Star Wars, because you want it to be Star Wars. You want it, especially with the names and everything. You're like, all right, you're trying to be ahead of it and knowing what's happening, knowing Star Wars, and there's no. Besides, you're like, all right, it's gonna probably end with the Death Star, or whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But you can't get. Other than that, you can't get ahead of it.
You really grasp at the things that are from Star Wars, like when Owen Lars appears at the end when they land on Yavin, you're like, oh, there's somebody I know, and he's not the same character, but at least the name's there.
He actually gets out of that all right.
Yeah,
that's right. All the people.
Yeah.
Oh,
because he's not related to anybody.
Yes, that is the kiss of death.
Yeah, seriously. Anybody related to the princess is fucked.
Yeah, her brothers make it.
Oh, yeah, they're the only ones. Yeah, I guess they make it.
Who are
they're the most useless characters.
Yeah, they're asleep in backpacks for 50
Yeah, like I said, they're a burden.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, they should have just stayed there with the bomb. Like, they served more of a purpose.
And I would not be surprised if it happened in this script too. They're like, all right, we blow up some kids.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much child death. It's insane.
Oh.
I'm actually going through my notes. One of my notes was, more than anything, this script loves its lingo. Class C, level 3, like...
Oh, there was one thing that Luke said, now I gotta look at my notes, that made me so happy. He uses a nickname for someone. Because, yeah, there's a lot of words.
I do love this note. Star Wars has secretly always been about politics.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely. It's always about politics. Now I can't find it, but there's something that Luke says to Kane that's a great nickname. That's like, you old so-and-so, but...
Oh, yeah, I remember what you're talking about, but I don't remember.
It's dumb and Star Warsy, which is the best.
Is that the scene when when Kane first kind of comes back?
Yes.
And gives him Anakin?
Yeah, he says some sort of dumb, you old so-and-so, and I just loved it because it was so Star Warsy.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I feel like, honestly, that is the only part of the only characters in the script that feel like there's actually a real connection. Yeah,
they've
Luke
known each other,
Kane.
they're friends, that's about it. Also, I wrote down also, budgets are mentioned.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of talk.
Oh, Kane, you old muscle rat.
Muscle rat, yeah.
You old muscle rat. What? I was like, gym rat?
I don't even know.
I don't know, but I love that. And the King, would you say his name would be Leia's father? King Chaos? In my head, I was pronouncing it King Chaos.
I don't know if you've seen Army of Darkness when he has to say the 3 words, and the last one he's just like, and he like clears his throat. That's kind of how I read that name.
Yeah, King Chaos, but he also says the word whippersnappers, and I didn't like it because that's not Star Wars.
No, not at all. There's
Muscle
a lot
rat.
of dialogue.
Muscle rat is Star Wars.
Yeah, that feels very Star Wars. I could see Han Solo calling someone a muscle rat. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dialogue in this that just, it feels like it's from a different movie.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, I'm like kind of flipping through the comic here trying to find a picture of a Wookiee to show you.
Oh boy, I don't know.
They are terrifying.
I don't know if I want to see a Wookiee. I always also imagine them as just like giant Ewoks at one point too. Just looking exactly the same.
I mean, they're very reminiscent to what the Wookiees are. It's just the faces that are very different.
I think that's one thing they did a good job on. You ever watch the Christmas special?
I've not seen the whole Christmas special.
Well, you can't. You physically can't.
No. I've seen bits and pieces of the Christmas special.
One of my favorite things is they can definitely only afford one good Wookiee mask. That's Chewbacca's.
That is what I've heard. I think they did a How Did This Get Made on the Christmas special.
Yes.
So most of my knowledge from the Christmas special comes from podcasts talking about it.
Yeah. I tried to watch it because I was like, hey, there'll be we love Star Wars. It's a holiday thing. Life Day. And me and my husband tried to watch it, and he was so angry at me.
Yeah.
Like, I thought you said this would be fun. I'm like,
And it's only like 30 minutes long, isn't it? And it feels like 2 hours.
I have no idea. It's all musical numbers.
Yeah, and there's like some animated Boba Fett sequence I hear.
That is the best part.
Yeah,
I would recommend to watch that on like YouTube or something. The animation is crazy. Luke is wearing eyeliner. It's a whole thing.
Here's Chewbacca.
Oh boy. Ooh, big ass eyes.
Giant, like, pointy ears.
Kind of a werewolf face.
Yeah.
But huge eyes and, oh, yeah, no.
I don't know if this concept art is out there, but if anybody is listening, they have to just search for an image of a Wookiee from the... Oh, here's another close-up. From the Star Wars... It's called The Star Wars. That's one thing to point out.
Yeah, it's kind of got a pig nose, big eyes, and...
It's hideous.
Yeah, you know... It's a mashup of a bunch of animals that should not be mashed up together.
No. Yeah, I mean... Do you have anything else? I mean,
I think we pretty much touched on everything I was thinking about.
Yeah,
it was a lot. It was a real.
It's nice to finally fill in the gaps, because like again, I feel like I said before, this is a story I feel like every major Star Wars fan has heard, but I don't think every Star Wars fan has read this, and I don't think they really realize how different it is.
Definitely not. I had no idea before I even started with the script, and I realized, oh, this is something else.
Yeah, and I knew the Star Killer thing. I knew like the Death Star was like they only blow it up because that's why they blew it up twice in the movies is because they took the grand finale. Script. Yeah, they took this script and broke it out, and that's why he kills Obi-Wan / Luke. And the first one is like, oh, because he had to break this up somehow, and I think everybody's kind of heard that story. But it's not what I expected at all. And like it was kind of surprising to see those moments pop up.
Yeah, when you're like, this isn't when you start to think this isn't Star Wars anymore, all of a sudden there would be like
here's a little bit of Star Wars.
Here's a scene from Star Wars in the script.
And I don't want to say I hated the experience. It was really tough to read.
Yeah.
But I didn't hate it.
But I liked reading it.
Yeah.
It was tough to read, but at the end I'm like, wow, this is nuts, and it was fun to read.
Yeah. And I don't know. I'm glad this did not get made the way it was.
Oh no, because there would not be the world of Star. If this movie got made, there's only one
Star Wars would be unrecognizable from what it was today. Like
there wouldn't be a seventh. I don't think there'd be a second, let alone a seventh, eighth, ninth Star Wars movie. Yeah, I don't.
Like, I wonder if there exists because I mean the story always was he had the idea for the prequels for years. And like we said, there are hints of the prequels in this. Mm-hmm. I wonder if there is a treatment like this for the prequels. Like, even if it's just a set of notes. Like, because let's think. 77 is the first one. Uh-huh. The last one is like early 80s, right? 82, 83, somewhere in there. Like, when did he come up with the idea for the prequels? Because everything changed. If he took the Star Wars and like then had
prequels for that?
Yeah. Or, like, did he come up with the idea of the prequels after Jedi had come out and he kind of had an idea of what it was?
He had the term Clone Wars and, like, I gotta figure this out.
Which they name-dropped Clone Wars in Episode 4.
Yeah.
So, like, that idea was there.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the things that he definitely held on to from that because it is, like, mentioned once and obviously becomes the thing.
Yeah, it becomes, like, they made a TV series about it.
Yeah.
And... what was I just going to say? There are other drafts to A New Hope. Like, there are scripts for A New Hope.
Oh, there's got to be, because this does not turn into A New Hope in one more draft.
No. And I'm curious, like, how many drafts did it take to get A New Hope? And was it really just like, okay, I split this into 3 movies. What do I put in this movie? And then did he just pen A New Hope kind of similar to what we know today? I don't see how the same guy writes the same movie.
Me neither, because there is no emotion. The romance is just like, I like you. I don't like you. Wait, I do.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And there's stories of, like, on set where, like, Harrison Ford would be like, look, this dialogue, I got this. And, like, would ad-lib a lot. But there's no way all of this was ad-lib. Because, I mean, he couldn't come up with all the space babble and stuff. Yeah. Harrison Ford didn't understand that shit.
Did not know, did not care.
No. He was there to get a paycheck and do this movie, and luckily for everybody involved, it turned out to be the biggest thing on the planet.
Yeah.
And like, I can't believe that this was like the Star Wars we know and love was ad-libbed, because he's the credited writer on that first movie. Like,
I don't know how this person writes that movie.
Yeah, there's a missing chapter here of how did they get from this to Episode 4.
I see how this person wrote the prequels. I don't see how they wrote the original trilogy.
And that was my thought the whole time I read this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's kind of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna hunt down A New Hope drafts and see if there's any major differences.
Like a middle, the missing link of New Hope.
Because I want to say the shooting draft is like the 4th draft or something like that. and I need to see draft 2. I need to find that. I need to know if that's out there. I'm gonna be looking, and if I find it, I'll let you know.
Yeah, definitely. I'd read that too.
But yeah, I guess I'm just gonna call it for the Star Wars, which is not what I would refer to this thing. But yeah, so that was the Star Wars. Thanks for sitting with me and
no problem.
making you read this. I'm sorry. But I hope you got something out of it as a Star Wars fan.
As a Star Wars fan, it was something I am glad that I read and I know now.
Is your husband as big of a Star Wars fan as you? Like,
were
you guys discussing this as you were reading it?
We talked a little bit about it. Like, we are a couple that when we got married, we condensed our expanded universe book collections
into one collection.
And bought a new bookshelf for it. So we are both like, and I was telling you that whenever we come home from a party or we're at bars or something, it's just like, we fall asleep to Star Wars like about every weekend.
My wife has still never the only Star Wars movie she's ever seen is Episode 7. She's not a movie person. She's not a sci-fi person. She likes her romantic comedies and such. She loves like dark thrillers. Like Gone Girl is like her favorite movie.
That's one I haven't seen. That isn't one I've seen, but I've seen Episode 7 about 20 times.
Yeah. See, I've only seen Episode 7 a few times. But like when we first moved in together, one of the things she wanted to do was watch all the Star Wars movies because she knows how important they are to me. Aww. I actually brought it up the other night. I was like, "You said we were gonna do it."
Said.
So we saw Episode 7 together. We went to Navy Pier on opening day, and then I showed her the trailer for Rogue One because that's so different. I was like, I wonder if this will get her fancy. So I show her the trailer, and the first thing she says to me, she's like, "You really like Star Wars?" So I don't have that problem with my wife. I love her, but she doesn't seem to be a Star Wars fan.
One time I was cooking dinner, and before Episode 7 came out, and our couch was kind of positioned that I could see what my husband's doing on his computer, and I saw him watch the trailer like 4 or 5 times in a row.
I remember when it came out, and I was at work, and I watched it like 7 times.
Well, this was like months later. He's already seen it.
I pulled it up every now and then.
Like, hey, babe, what you doing?
Yeah, I pulled it up every now and then. And the Rogue One trailer, I still pull it up every now and then.
I watch all the time. I was so excited.
I'm so excited. 1 month away from today.
Ooh.
As we're recording this will launch later. But
it's gonna be great. I think it's gonna be great.
Yeah, but I think when it comes out, I might have to bring everybody together to like do a group discussion on it.
Ooh, that'd be fun.
Just set the recorder in the middle and everybody talk around it.
I will always talk about Star Wars.
Yeah. Maybe there will be another Star Wars episode in the future. So I'll definitely keep you in mind for that one.
All right, sounds good.
But so this was the Star Wars. Again, thanks for sitting with me. As always, you can follow us on Twitter at Shelved Podcast. We have the email, which I have been saying wrong on the last 2 episodes. I was originally saying shelvedpodcast@gmail.com. And the mini episodes, I've gone back and fixed that. It's actually shelvedfilmpodcast@gmail.com. So if anybody wants to write in and complain to us or I have a question, we answer it on the mini episodes. Feel free. We do have a Tumblr for the scripts, which is shelvedfilmpodcast.tumblr.com, which I post the scripts for the episode so people can read along and stuff like that. So be sure to check all that out. Maggie, thanks for sitting with me.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, and thank everybody for listening.